Due to circumstances beyond my control, Mortal Kombat 2 and Tomb Raider Anniversary will not be addressed this month. Apologies in advance. So, with the discourse around the new DCU continuing, as with WB Discovery potentially going up, we're supposed to be Ultra Planet again. You might be wondering why I haven't addressed the finale, or heck, even the other half of season 2 yet. And my response is simple. Once again, sorry to disappoint you, but I have not seen it yet. That's so. But with that in mind, with Superman being such a big hit this year, and yet more being set in motion for The Man of Tomorrow, I thought I would take a look back about another production which actually gave me confidence in James's vision for Clark and the new DCU, who, albeit in a way a lot of people did not expect. And even though he did not direct this one, that honor goes to a one David Yorovsky, and was also co-written by his family and frequent collaborators Brian Gunn and Mark Gunn. It is among the better attempts at this premise, where instead of becoming a protector and a symbol of all that's good about humanity, a what if the a child that crash landed in a meteor shower in a small town in Kansas has became something far more horrifying. I've seen this movie before a while ago, and I've been waiting for an opportunity to talk about it, and now that time's upon me. So, with 10 days of Halloween, here are my thoughts on the 2019 in horror superhero film Brightburn. As I have just pointed out, the basic premise of the film is playing the origin story of Superman as for a horror story, and while this film at the time and since has generated a bit of discourse, as great many things have even just watching it again, and overall, I personally think it did a decent job, and given in these filmmakers' background in horror, they really understand how to make a lot of a little. The $7 million budget is obviously quite frugal compared to the nine-figure amounts that's regularly spent on other comic blockbusters these days, including ones that came out the same year this one did. But because of that, it was able to make back that budget in just a single weekend, and even factoring in how many other things were there on the marquee. And it actually does a good job of establishing the analogs for each character, and also subverting our expectations in ways that go different paths than normally would be. Least of all, what if instead of Jonathan Martha Kent serving, it's actually even $6 million, and it's actually made back more than 5 times that worldwide, almost sixfold. But as I was saying, instead of like your Jonathan Martha Kent being the kindly surrogate parents who help act as Clark's moral compass, what if we just had a regular couple who have been trying for a long time to have children, and they end up getting their wish granted by the proverbial cursed monkey's paw? What comes to the cost? It's not the only one who's pointed this out, but the most frightening things about the movie are the most realistic. Though we're not likely to encounter many middle schoolers with superpowers consisting of limited to flight, super strength, and heat vision, name a few, who the way he behaves and becomes increasingly he unstable. When he starts out going after people who slighted him, be it directly or otherwise. Rise. By the end of the film, he's gone so off the deep end that he doesn't care who he hurts. Main, which, given in the events at the time and since, is shockingly plausible to not only do that to one's own parents, be they real or surrogates, but to make it look like they were just another casualty of society. And admittedly, they're standing for Lana Lang, who was also subverted in similar fashion, and while Lana may never have been the best student in the world in most versions I've seen of her, her her heart was always in the right place, and even then after Clark left Smallville Metropolis, there was always an indicator that she and him were still friends, and here, however, her she not only he not only crushes her and and during in track class, as he actually employs a lot of tactics that are quite similar to real stalkers and emotional manipulators. There's up to and including taking the lethal extreme of if I can't have you, no one can, and and that is also why I think the idea of taking the concept of Superman and turning it on its head has been so prolific, not just on screen but also on the comics page. Heck, even DC themselves has had a few of them, with the Injustice Superman being a key one on showing what happened and if Clark lost his moral compasses of both Lois Lane and Martha Kent, hence which by that point where Ospino has left and the Joker's plan to try and get him to cross a line that Batman never would ends up going horribly right? And same deal like with Ultraman, and not the flying brick clone, but the other Ultraman, where he's a knowing and sentient counterpart from another timeline. I mean, much like how Owlman is to who Batman, and how Johnny Quick is to who who the Flash. I mean, I still have nothing to add about Muschetti's recent comments. I will still just deal with the Brave and the Bold as it comes. That is, if he even stays on as director. I'm not sure about that. Though I'm not the most familiar with David's work, he definitely understands the idea of horror filmmaking and just horror stories as a whole, that what you don't see is as important as what you do. Who, to me, the most horrifying things in the movie are the actions we don't visually see happen, and that's at the idea here of the authority, local sheriff, and all those people on that plane and the denouements, that we don't basically see their fates, but just hear the after having described on the news, and the feds zipping up what's left of them in body bags. It definitely earns R rating. I'll definitely say that much. That's for the ones we do see. He he and even though there's multiple points where they try to get at the child, whose name is Brandon, by the way, into who more professional care, or outside the control oh, they end up trying still insisting on handling it themselves and ends up totally showing how they're in over their heads, and even in Brightburn's costume, whom while initially it seems like a more conventional superhero design in his notebook, but as I start finding more and more troubling signs, like the symbols and the fact that he has a book on human anatomy stashed in his bed sheets, he's in his mattress, actually foreshadows as exactly how he's going to deal with the others, whether or not they actually wronged him. And while there's been little official word about any follow up, I especially like as the credits roll, we get a versatile Lex Luthor who, rather than being like the corrupt industrialist egomaniac he usually is in the comics and other adaptations, and from more recent incarnations. I especially like the variants of the that were written post Crisis of the Nerves, like the original one from the 80s. He's he's some online podcaster who's trying to warn people about them. Also, not only about Brandon now falling prison as Brightburn's rampage across the nation, but it's also the emergence of villainous takes on Aquaman, Batman, the Flash, and there's also implied to be others. You look at the art and chirons at the bottom of the screen. And so a whole Injustice League, as it were, or Injustice Society, so to speak. So, while this may not be a movie I revisit the most frequently, it, it is still one that I definitely enjoyed watching. It may not be my favorite. Its way of subverting these kind of archetypes and characters, but I still can say I enjoy it. I'm not really going to put a rating on it this time around, but between the relatively modest $6 million budget and even the presence of James' regular Michael Rooker, who has been working with some capacity ever since he was making movies at Troma, especially his earlier works. I talked about Slither a while ago, and also this year, right before the reboot came out, I talked about Super as well, and it will likely not be the last time I talked about works he has some involvement with, be they horror or blockbuster. And it was either going to be this, or one of my Scooby Doo videos going to move me up to compensate for the lack of Lara Croft and the lack of Johnny Cage. But don't worry about that. There's other games I can stream, as recently as tonight. Good ones too. Anyway, that's all I'll say for now. See you all again soon, so happy Halloween, everyone.